Hey, what's going on, everyone? As I always say, well, I don't know who's going to join me tonight. This will be my version of punching the clock. Shout out to the master teacher, BGS Moore. Let me adjust my speaker here. I normally start right on the hour, but I decided to hit the start stream button just a few minutes early to give people time to roll in if they choose to do so. Let me make sure my Word document is open. Yep, it's open, and I have all of my links queued up here. So yeah, before I play the intro, please smash that like button. Thank you to those of you who left likes ahead of time. That is always helpful. I don't have a guest tonight, though I will have a guest on Sunday. I'm following up Jeff St. James with Dr. L. Dr. L from Dr. L's podcast. He agreed to come and do a Q&A with me on Sunday, this Sunday, November 16th. So this Sunday at 3:30, me and Dr. L are going to talk about a number of things. And I imagine there's going to be overlap between these two videos I'm going to show tonight and my discussion with Dr. L, because he, part of his wheelhouse seems to be teaching young men, young Black men, how to be better men, how to stand on their square, and among other things. So I imagine there will be quite a bit of overlap. For those of you who are out there, please let me know who's here. Please smash that like button. Thank you to everyone who supported my Dr. Ronald Neal Q&A. It's hard to believe we went for 3 hours. We sat for 3 hours, me and Dr. Neal, just the two of us, no other panelists or anybody. And then with Jeff, Jeff, salute to Jeff. Jeff hung on for a little bit over the allotted time, and he had a video that he was trying to finish up later on after we finished. But if you have any thoughts on those of you watching this, if you have any thoughts on those, please let me know. I do plan to ask Dr. Ronald Neal to come back because there was so much meat left on the bone regarding his book. And there are more questions that I want to ask Dr. Neal about bell hooks. And there are more questions that I want to ask him about Ellis Coase. And there are questions I want to ask him about Clarence Thomas. And there are questions I want to ask him about Janetta Cole. I don't know if you all remember who Janetta Cole is, but Janetta, let me slow down and pronounce it correctly. Janetta Cole was the president of Spelman, okay, back in the day. And so Dr. Neal talked about her in his book. So there's just so much more meat left on the bone from my discussion with Dr. Ronald Neal. So I really want to have him come back. So don't be surprised to see Dr. Neal back sooner or later, hopefully sooner than later. Cynical Optimist, you are the first one in. Salute to you. Thank you for your continuous support, and thank you for being the first one in. All right, it is 7:01, 1 hour, and then I'm out. This is my version of punching the clock. So I'm gonna play my Curtis Schoon intro, and then I will jump in. If you guys have any comments, let me know who all is here. Let me know what you think about any of this. Let me know what you think about my last two live streams, and let's go. 1 hour. There are no political solutions to cultural deficiencies. I will switch this up at some point, but this is just I think it's just golden for now. All right. So where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information.
That we will rush to finish things that are important so we could do things that are not. And I believe it's an immaturity there. People just don't understand that, life isn't about having fun all the time. You have to have fun sometimes. I agree. But as an adult, there's time where you have to just say, okay, listen, I got to get down to work right now. And I don't think enough of us value that time or really understand the fruits of that labor. Somehow we think things are just going to be without that kind of effort. And culturally, there's a deficiency there. That's why I always say that there's no political solution for cultural deficiencies.
So, where did this topic come from? So, I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. Hey, everyone. Um, Welcome back to Big Discussions 76. I hope everyone is doing good out there. I hope that you had a good weekend. It was a long weekend for me. It wasn't the Veterans Day weekend that I imagined for myself back in June. I had to change my plans up, but I still got to see the ocean. I'll just be discreet there. But life is like that. You plan things out, circumstances change, and then you have to make adjustments uh, for those changed circumstances. And the time flies by. It was a 5-day weekend for me, but yeah, it's time to go back to battle tomorrow, and the time just flows by. I'm going to show a video in the second half of this 1 hour stream by the older man, Paul Aiken. And as I was driving over the weekend, he said something interesting, which is that once you get into your 40s, time time just goes. It goes very, very fast. And I think that I'm experiencing that right now. And my mother did tell me, shout out to my mom. I'm going to refer to her later on that, you're going to get to a point where you're going to look up and you're going to wonder where the years went. So I'm experiencing all of that right now. Maybe you are as well. And this is going to be a fun Thanksgiving based upon everything that I know and that I've learned and everything that I know that is going on right now. So, Cynical Optimist was the first one in. If anyone else wants to announce their presence and let me know who's there, please feel free to do it. In the meantime, Cynical Optimist, you are manning the chat. So, um, tonight's stream, this is my version of punching the clock. The next big event is going to be hosting Dr. L on Sunday from Dr. L's podcast. So stay tuned for that. So this one deals with catching up on things and words from Professor Scott Galloway, uh, uh, an older man, and what a real man is. Before I jump into all of that, because I have pieces of one video that I'm going to show referring to Dr. Galloway, or should I say Professor Galloway, and then I'm going to show the entire Ask an Older Man video. But a couple of things. First of all, salute to our military men and service women for your service. I think that, well, I know that part of part of the way we have this society that we have for those of us who find this way of living comfortable, and these dollars that we use, part of that is due to having our military. A lot of people in this country don't understand what the military does, aside from learning to fight and indulge in combat and wearing military fatigues. But the military, in large part, secures our standard of living. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. But I just wanted to salute our military servicemen and women today on Veterans Day. Thank you for your sacrifice. There's been a lot happening. There's been a lot that happened from this point back to when I interviewed Jeff St. James. I'm going to run through those very, very quickly. The government was shut down at that point. The government is in the process of reopening. I was not affected. I'm going to be discreet there. Oprah's legacy was questioned. Probably not for the last time, because she created an offering called the increase in gray divorces. So Oprah's her legacy and her contribution to society as we know it is now being questioned, which I think is a good thing. For those in the YouTube streets, there was the Coach Greg Adams, Andrew Wilson debate. People are still talking about that. Lenny Wilkens died. Now, for the sports head, for the basketball heads out there, you know who Lenny Wilkens was. He passed away. I feel like somebody else passed away as well in the last 2 weeks. The New York City had its mayoral election, so now the Mamdani guy is in there. So we have to wait and see what's going to happen to New York City and if that spreads to other parts of the country. And then there is Professor Scott Galloway, and I think that the majority of my viewers here are familiar with. I just froze. Okay. I think the majority of my viewers here are familiar with Professor Scott Galloway and his messaging. So there's a reason he's been hitting the news cycle lately. And I learned about this last week from my dear sweet mother, who I talked about a few minutes ago. When we spoke on the phone at the end of last week, she said, I was watching an interview with Professor Scott Galloway on it was either MSNBC, Morning Joe, or CNN, and she said, I thought about the content that you make. Okay, I thought about you and some of the things you do. The reason being is that Professor Scott Galloway is an advocate for, how should I say this? He's interested in what's happening with boys, young boys and men. Okay. And he is running buddies with Richard Reeves. Okay. And as I tried to explain to my mother to some degree, to the extent that I could, there are skeptics and questions about whose interests they are really championing and who they are really advocating for. And I'm going to get to that as we go on. But just briefly, who is Professor Scott Galloway? For those of you in the chat, for those of you watching with me live now, are you all familiar with who Professor Scott Galloway is? I know you know who Dr. Tiasan Johnson is. I know you know who Dr. Ronald Neal is. I know you know who Dr. Tommy Curry is. But for those of you in the chat and in the replay gang, are you familiar with Professor Scott Galloway? I'm like Mr. Z, watch Manosphere content and watch non-Manosphere content. So I have my eyes pretty much going on everything. But cynical optimist, if you're still there, if anyone, if AB, if you're there, if Alonzo, Sheet, whoever, if you're there, are you familiar with Professor Scott Galloway? Deacon Brown says, yes, Doc. Deacon, thank you for your participation. These are more fun when you all participate. I appreciate that. Everybody, please smash the like button. If you want to make a donation to the channel, the super chat is live, and you have those handles there in the ticker. All right, Professor Scott Galloway. For those who are unenlightened and for the uninitiated, this is a brief blurb about Professor Scott Galloway. And this is the result of a simple Google search. Professor G, okay, I didn't know he went by that nickname. So Prof G refers to Scott Galloway, a marketing professor at NYU, Stern, a serial entrepreneur, and a best-selling author known for his popular podcasts and sharp commentary on business, technology, and culture. He is the host of the Prof G Pod and is the author of books such as The Four and The Algebra of Wealth. He's also the founder of several companies and is recognized for his insights on topics like digital marketing, branding, and the economy. You can watch this video to learn more about Scott Galloway's views on the crisis among men. Okay, so you guys can look that up. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but that's a brief blurb about Professor Scott Galloway. So Professor Scott Galloway, for years now, in addition to those topics that were just described in that Google summary, he has been front and center about what's happening with boys and men needing to do better and to be more economically viable and to be better options for their female counterparts today. And also that we've made tremendous progress in terms of the feminine and the female advancement over the last 30 to 40 years. So he's taken a huge interest, a significant interest in what's happening with boys and men, much the same way Richard Reeves has. Okay, but as I described, there are questions about whose allegiances, where their allegiances truly lie. Why are they doing this? Who are they actually capitulating to? Okay. So it turns out that the reason he's making the circuit now, because he's been all over YouTube, Cynical Optimist says, I'm not too familiar with him or his work. Michael says, good evening. Michael, thank you for being here. Thank you both for being here. So the reason he's making the circuit now is because he just released a new book. So for the big time authors, you guys know that I'm an author. Okay. Still trying to get it off the ground and generate more sales. But for the big boys, the big time NYU professors and podcasters and actors and actresses, when they create books, there's a whole marketing division, and they tend to do a tour where they make several tour stops on TV to get their message out, to drive up support for their book. So he's doing that now. So the question is, what is his new book? All right, let's take a look at that. Professor Scott Galloway's new book is entitled, coincidentally, Notes on Being a Man. Notes on Being a Man. I'll say it again. Notes on Being a Man. I'm going to read the summary for you guys. Okay. Barry Moon says, thank you for leaving this comment, Barry. He says, I used to watch him a lot during the pandemic, and his advice was very helpful. However, I've been skeptical about him recently. Something about what he speaks has changed. Okay, I think that gets to the question that I had, is where does his allegiances, where do his allegiances truly lie? And I'm not going to disparage Professor Galloway. I might meet him one day, so I'm going to be a little bit diplomatic, and I'll be diplomatic with my speech. Okay. Barry says, they don't seem as authentic. I don't know. You know how you have a feeling, but you can't place it. Well, let's see what his book is about. Okay. Boys and men are in crisis. Rarely has a cohort fallen further and faster than young men living in Western democracies. Boys are less likely to graduate from high school or college than girls. 1 in 7 men reports having no friends, and men account for 3 of every four deaths of despair in America. Even worse, the lack of attention to these problems has created a vacuum filled by voices espousing misogyny, misogyny, all right, the demonization of others, and a toxic version of masculinity. But this is not just a male issue. Women and children can't flourish if men aren't doing well. And as we know from spates of violence, there's nothing more dangerous than a lonely, broke young man. All right, read more. All right. Scott Galloway has been sounding the alarm on this issue for years. In Notes on Being a Man, Galloway explores what it means to be a man in modern America. He promotes the importance of healthy masculinity and mental strength. He shares his own story from boyhood to manhood, exploring his parents' difficult divorce, his issues with anger and depression, his attempts to earn money, and his life raising 2 boys. He shares the sometimes funny, often painful lessons he learned along the way, some of which include uh, getting out of the house, action absorbs anxiety. Uh, take risks, and be willing to feel like an imposter. Don't let rejection stop you. Be kind. That's the secret to success in relationships. Is it the only secret? That's my question. Find what you're good at, follow your talent, acknowledge your blessings, and create opportunities for others. Be of surplus value. Being a good dad means being good to the mother of your children. Life isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. With unflinching honesty, Scott Galloway maps out an enriching, inspiring operator's manual for being a man today. Okay. So that leads to another question. Okay. What is manhood? What is masculinity? Okay. Whose version of it is right? Whose version of it is correct? Okay. It looks to me, and I am going to get a copy of this. I want to read The Man Not probably first, but it seems to me that this is in part an attempt to salvage boys and men, okay, and also shape the worldview, shape their worldview, shape our worldview as adults, and also reshape their worldview. Okay, so I think yeah, that's interesting. And as I told my mother, this has been going on for years. Okay, this concern over boys and men by the political class, by higher education, by the media conglomerates. They've been seeing this for years. This didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Dr. Warren Farrell wrote a book, has written books about this. I tend to trust him a little bit more. I think Dr. Warren Farrell has the best interests of boys and men at heart. Okay. Um, why now? What's the concern? Okay. He mentioned misogyny in that overview. No talk of misandry, which I'm going to come back to that. But what's the concern? Well, you only have to go back to my discussion with Aaron Clary about his book, A World Without Men. Okay. Reading is fundamental, everybody. Okay. You can't trust everything the mainstream news tells you. Okay. Aaron wrote this compelling book talking about what society would literally be like without men, and what pivotal choices younger women have going forward in terms of saving the country, in terms of returning to family formation, and hinting at the consequences of men, boys and men falling out of this whole thing, this construct we live in altogether. And he does a really, really eloquent job talking about the economics of what men produce versus what women produce. So violence is one thing. Violence is one thing, but if they lay flat altogether, if men check out altogether, then there will be consequences for that, such as the birth rate crisis, such as crumbling infrastructure, such as yeah. Nicholas Eberstadt wrote this book, Men Without Work. I talked about this a couple of years ago. So people have their eye on this. But my question is, if I could talk to Dr. Galloway, is what about the girls? Okay, because anytime you talk about uplifting boys and doing right by boys, the question also arises, well, what about the girls? So Dr. Galloway and those in that camp, I would ask the question as well, what about the girls? Okay, if assuming you fix the boys up to being the type of men that you want them to be, are the girls, are the young women, are they well suited to take those type of men? Do they want those type of men? Do they feel like men are trash? Do they feel like men suck? Do they feel like men are incompetent? Do they feel like men are do they feel like men are just here to serve? To get those answers, you only need to look over at TikTok and some platforms here on YouTube. But I would ask the question, Dr. Galloway, what about the girls? Do they need any help? Do they need any work? Do we need a redefining of what femininity is? Okay, those are questions I would ask. I'm going to read some comments, then I'll hop to the first video of Dr. Galloway. I'm only going to show a snippet of it. AW says, Scott Galloway, I've seen him on YouTube a few times. He came off a little racist. Okay, that's the vibe I got. I think he's good for white men, black men, not so much. Cynical Optimist said, I recently saw a clip of him speaking on men, and I will say he has a gynocentric lens. Okay. Okay, so let's go into this first clip of Dr. Galloway. I'm going to show two clips from the same video. And others have covered this. You know, there's a content creator who never shows his face named Jason Black. He did a really, really good response to Professor Galloway's points, point for point, on his business broadcast, and others have addressed it as well. But you guys can already see, I think much of this commentary is one-sided. How can you fix one side when the other side is still broken? Okay. All right. And you guys keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. This one is called the numbers are stark. Scott Galloway on the crisis facing boys and men. And that's a good point, guys. One of you said he came off racist. I won't. That's not my point of view for those watching, but the question does come up when you have a speaker that's not black. I'm black. You guys in the chat, I think most of you guys are black. There's distrust of the speaker, and then the question arises: okay, well, what does this have to do with black people? Okay, well, the saying is, okay, we've known black boys in the black community have been floundering for years. Okay, that's a whole discussion in itself. But the saying is, when the black community gets how does that go? When the black community gets when the rest of society, when white society, when the greater society catches a cold, Black people already have the flu. Something to that effect. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to skip to 13 minutes. Give me a moment here. And we are using the Dr. Thunder model here. Okay, now these are snippets, guys, and this is the caveat of video, because we saw over the pandemic you can take small pieces of a larger discussion out and get fired up over that without knowing the entire context. So this is a part of an entire discussion, but I thought that this part was particularly interesting. Fair use, and this is him promoting his new book. And I applaud him for saying this. You know, what are we doing? Are we trying to cause our own extinction? Okay, because nobody's asking that question. But where do his allegiances actually lie? Fair use, fair use.
I didn't have the discipline not to walk my dog and watch Netflix all day if someone had offered me remote work. I had a girlfriend. My girlfriend at one point, I'm not proud of this, but I want to be open and honest, I was smoking a lot of pot in my 20s. And my girlfriend basically said to me, stop smoking pot or I'm no longer going to be your girlfriend. That was very motivating to me. Men have fewer and fewer guardrails, fewer and fewer guardrails in terms of education, in terms of relationships, in terms of a male mentor.
Okay, he mentioned a very, very interesting word there. Guardrails. Guardrails. Okay. We're going to go back to the video. Are you guys familiar with the term guardrails? That has several contexts. But there was a video. I'll just close this. There was a video of me and Officer Charles Faulkner and two other people at the cigar lounge a couple of years ago. And I mentioned I got a little nice and I was smoking a cigar, and Officer Faulkner, salute to him, thank you for your service, said, let's do a live stream now. And I went on camera saying that a lot of the guardrails have been removed from women. And what we're seeing is the result of their choices. The lady I was seeing at that time saw that, wasn't very happy about it. So, but Professor Galloway is mentioning guardrails for boys. Okay, our guardrails needed for both genders. Okay, and other people came to my conclusion. Other people have come to my conclusion, but you can't. You know, right now, it's you'll get tarred and feathered for saying things about women and girls. Anyway, guardrails. Reynolds says something interesting. He says, why do you think he doesn't reach out to Dr. Tiesan Johnson or Dr. Tommy Curry? He's only concerned for his clan. Well, Reynolds, that's a good point. He never says specifically white boys and men, but they are the majority population in this country. I suspect I would ask, does he know about Dr. Johnson or Dr. Curry? Okay, but Dr. Johnson has been critical of his buddy Reeves, so maybe he wouldn't want to partner with Dr. Johnson. But my first question would be, does he even know about Dr. Tiesan Johnson? We know, but does Professor Galloway know? All right, let's go back. Fair use, fair use.
Young men need a certain check. They need relationships. And the moment a man goes online, because this is when a young man, I know he's come off the tracks. I mentor a lot of young men. When they start blaming immigrants for their economic problems, or they start blaming women for their relationship or their romantic problems. And online waiting for them is a series of algorithms that recognize when they are having misogynistic tendencies or they want to blame others. And it makes them feel better about themselves. It makes them feel seen. Unfortunately, they have these frictionless relationships where Godlike Technologies tried to convince them they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the pecking order of trying to find friends when you have Reddit and Discord? Why put on a tie and try and get your act together such that you can get a job when you can make money trading crypto or stocks on Coinbase or Robinhood? Why on earth would you go through the hassle, the expense, working out, having resilience, enduring rejection, following up, of trying to establish a romantic relationship when you have lifelike porn? No social media under the age of 18, no synthetic relationships for people under the age of 18. And if any of these companies are seen as putting out content that can be reverse engineered to increase in self-harm, especially prevalent amongst young girls, we hold them to the same standards we hold this network. Any algorithmically elevated content means you have decided, you have made a conscious decision to serve a 15-year-old girl images of nooses, pills, and razors when she starts talking about suicide. There is absolutely no reason we shouldn't hold these companies accountable. We thought in marketing through the last half of the century that it was sex that sells. These algorithms have found that there's something that sells better than sex, and that is rage. We have the most powerful companies in the world with godlike technology trying to divide and polarize us. And young men who, quite frankly, have less developed brains are especially susceptible to this type of division and rage. We need to hold big tech accountable for the damage they are doing to our youth. It's as if, Claire, we are literally trying to plan our own extinction. We are evolving a new species of asocial and asexual males, and our country cannot survive unless we take charge of this and recognize our young men have value. They fight our wars, they build our buildings, they're procreators, they play a hugely important role. And because of the prosperity I've recognized, the unfair advantage that Joe and I recognized at our age, we are holding 19-year-old men accountable. I recognize unfair advantage. The question is, do we want to hold a 19-year-old male responsible and guilty for the unfair advantage I received?
Okay, there was a lot there. Okay, shout out to T Riddler. T Riddler has entered the chat. T Riddler, no food fighting in my chat. I'm just joking, T Riddler. So there was a lot there. He acknowledged boys, men build the buildings, build the bridges, we maintain them, we do all the heavy lifting. Okay. He's very outspoken about baby boomer men have a lot of privilege, particularly baby boomer white men have a lot of privilege. And I think a part of his message is they're holding the majority of the wealth. Okay. He spent a lot of time talking about what the technology is doing to the boys. Okay. But what didn't he talk about? What didn't he say? What question did he not ask? I'll ask it. Professor Galloway, what's the technology, what's the social media doing to the girls and the women? Okay. What are they behaving the way that they're supposed to behave? Are they behaving in a way that promotes future generations and family formation? What about the girls? What standards do the girls have now and the women have now? Are they realistic standards? Okay. What are they shooting for now? That was one of the more powerful parts of Jason Black's rebuttal. Now I know Jason Black, he's not necessarily a friend of parties I'm affiliated with, but he did point out, okay, what are the girls and the women shooting for? Okay. And also, give me 1 second. I'm going to run and grab another book from my library. The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Okay, Jonathan Haidt spends a lot of time in this book talking about how the internet and social media has also adversely affected the girls. their level of anxiety, their level of depression. Okay, they're feeling less than because of the perfect girls and women that they see on Instagram, the aspiring to the jet setter lifestyle. Okay, uh, what what standards has the internet and social media created that the girls and the women are now expecting, Professor Galloway? Okay, that's the you're focusing so much on this side, but if you fix this side, what if this side is still broken? And the argument can be made that this side is really, really broken. I'm going to hop ahead to uh, uh, the concept of economic viability. He mentions a popular name there. So my overarching question is, Professor Galloway, Morning Joe, what about the girls? I think they deserve some love here too. Okay, I'm just going to play a little bit of this. You guys keep letting me know what you think in the chat. Fair use, fair use.
One of the things I think would help young men the most is universal child care. 75% of women say economic viability is important in a mate, only 25% of women. Beyonce could work at McDonald's and marry Jay-Z. The opposite is not true. And we don't even like to talk about it, but it's true. And economic.
Okay. So, all right. So that was, I'm wrapping my head around this on that one. Okay. One of the things that would help men is childcare, subsidized childcare. So I think the rationale is that would lessen the burden, the economic burden on men ultimately. What he did say something red pill there. And that's that Beyonce could work at McDonald's and marry Jay-Z, right? But not the other way around. Okay. So that's saying that that's the principle that when women achieve a certain amount of status and income, they tend to marry up. Okay, men tend to marry down. Men don't care so much if she works at the McDonald's. Okay, so he just pointed that out, and he pointed out that nobody really wants to talk about that, and that's a conundrum of this new construct that was created uh, 30, 40 years ago when they smashed the gender roles against the wall and said, okay, let's make both genders equal. Let's not cater to boys so much. Let's not care about the boys as much. Let's treat boys like defective girls. Okay, he's just pointed that out. Let me play that again. Then we'll hop to the other video. Then I'll wrap up. Reynolds says he may not want to cite the Black Manosphere PhDs, but he's listening. But he's listening. Yeah. Let's see. I agree with you. Professor Galloway has been focused on mainstream men. Richard Reeves of Brookings discusses issues specific to Black men. I will give Reeves that he has cited the plight of Black men and boys. I'm going to play this again. Fair use, fair use.
Programming. One of the things I think would help young men the most is universal child care. 75% of women say economic viability is important in a mate, only 25% of women. Beyonce could work at McDonald's and marry Jay-Z. The opposite is not true. And we don't even like to talk about it, but it's true. And
Okay. Look at Joe and Mika. I'm going to let him go a few more minutes, and then I'll go to the other video because I want to wrap the stream up. Let's see. Men who are fathers, I could see the child care helping them because that would help with their expenses, and it would ease the family burden for both parents. But for young men, when I think young men, I think late, 18, 21, 22. I'm still trying to figure out what he's talking about there. maybe it's in his book. Very useful.
Economic viability is not only a function of how much money you make, but your ability to afford to form a household. And let's give a shout out to young conservative men who say their #1 ambition is to have a family and young kids. How do we help them do that? Through universal child care, which puts less financial strain on the home, and you can have 2-income homes.
Okay, so there it is. That was another interesting thing. Okay, and I wonder what, because MSNBC has a liberal audience. He just shouted out conservative young men. And if I recall correctly, the data bear out that conservative young men, one of the things they really aspire to is having a family. For conservative women, it's a little bit further down. For liberal women, I think it's somewhere in outer space. But he shouted out conservative young men there. I thought that was interesting. Let me say that one more time. Fair use.
Not only a function of how much money you make, but your ability to afford to form a household. And let's give a shout out to young conservative men who say their #1 ambition is to have a family and young kids. How do we help them do that? Through universal child care, which puts less financial strain on the home, and you can have 2-income homes. Financial stress is the #1 reason for relationships fraying and breaking up. And the most susceptible a young man is to is to suicide, is in the 1 year after he loses his primary relationship. He splits up from his wife and he loses his relationship with his kids. Joe, you and I and every other man my age that is recognized as kind of prosperity, we have a debt. We need to get back involved in young men's lives, and we need to advocate for them.
Okay, I think that's we'll stop that there. But he's again, he's banging the drum for, the men. But on the female side, how do they even see marriage today? How do they even see pairing off, marrying, staying with someone till death do them part, having children? Okay, until waiting and having children until their late 30s and early 40s. He's not saying anything about how the women are existing in today's world, and I think that's a major hole in this whole thing. Ray Alexander has entered the building. Oh, I already read one of your comments. Let me read the second comment from Ray Alexander. Ray Alexander says, a high-value man would marry a pretty and smart woman, but I don't believe a high-value man would actually date or marry a cashier at Mickey D's. I believe Jay-Z married Beyonce because of her status. Okay. Yeah, I think, Ray, we see what he was trying to say there. He was trying to say that Jay-Z would still take her even at her lower status, and it's less likely to happen the other way around. All right. The other thing that recently popped up, and I think you guys saw this, those of you who are subbed to the Master Teacher, was this whole what a real man is thing. Okay. Dr. Orion Taraban from Psych Hacks, he created a video on this, and it just so happened that the older man, he created a video on this. And I thought that this is, since we're talking about revisiting what a man is, revisiting what men are, revisiting what good men are, what real men are, since we're revisiting that and trying to reshape it, what is that today? Is it the same as it was 50 years ago? Okay. Many would agree that it's not, and many would agree that, okay, well, we don't live in a society like the one we lived in 50 years ago, and being a good man back then, trying to be that today will get you fleeced and exploited. Okay. All right. So this is a video from Ask an Older Man. And I, being raised primarily by my mother, okay, this whole topic of what a real man is, and you hear multiple descriptions of what a nice guy is, a good guy, a good man, a real man. When you step out of your home into adulthood, you're hit with all of these views and opinions of what a quote unquote real man is. Okay. And the pushback that I'm seeing is that those who say that, they're usually saying that in the context of service to women. Okay. It's usually talked about in service to women. Okay. And you almost never hear about what a real woman is. So this is something that's usually going one way, and it's used to dictate a certain set of behaviors. Let's hear from the older man. Fair use, fair use. I see a new face here. Naomi, thank you. I'm not familiar with you, but thank you for stopping through. She says, I absolutely agree about universal childcare. If the mother is stressed or unable to work because of a lack of childcare, then undoubtedly the father would feel that stress as well. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that reverberating around the household. All right. This video is by Ask an Older Man, and see, I'm already approaching an hour. This one, this is 20 minutes. So, this one is called. I'm going to try not to stop this too much, but I do have to give my commentary on it. This one is called. He said, "I'm not a real man." So, what is a real man? Fair use, fair use. Salute to the older man.
I ain't gonna lie. A lady was like, "Oh, you a real man." Bitch, I looked at that hoe. I felt like she called me out my name. Bitch, don't call me no real man. I don't want to be labeled that shit. I do not want that shit at all. Do not call me a real man. I'm just me. She said, "Oh, you a real man. You look like a man. You look like the type of man that don't go 50-50. Bitch, I am the type of man that go 50-50. For sure. For sure. Oh, I can't respect a man that goes 50-50 with a woman. I don't give a fuck about that. That Jedi mind trick shit do not work over here. A real man would take care of a chick with 3-4 kids. And baby girl, I'm not a real man. I'm actually the complete opposite of what a real man is. I'm a man that does what the fuck I want to do. I don't do a thing for your validation. You feel me? So all that, a real man, you can have it. That Jedi mind trick never worked on me. That shit never worked on me, but I be countering that shit, bitch. Using all my mind power, like, bitch, you ain't finna get me, ho. You ain't finna get me with that okie doke.
Oh. Okay, so two things there. First of all, I don't condone the language. I don't condone the language. But two things there. The 50-50 thing, that's a hot topic today. Okay. And also taking care of children that aren't your biological children. That's a hot topic today. So let's keep going. Fair use, fair use.
Oh, for my non-American friends, I hope you guys understood what he was saying. I'll break it down for you very clearly. He's basically saying that the whole idea of being called a real man that women have now classified is all about catering to her and her BS. If you do everything I say, provide for me 100%. If you provide everything that I want, you're a real man. And he's saying, yeah, that Jedi mind trick isn't working on me. And it's true. And it's another thing I want to bring to the younger men in today's environment and the older men who still have this provider mentality to wake you up in rage and make you realize that what women are shaming you to do is provide for them 100%. Give them everything they want. Bow down to her. Then you can be classified as a real man. And as an older man, I'm saying to you today, don't fall for that shit. Please don't ever make a woman think that you're not a real man if you don't fall for her. And I could end the video right here.
So I will say that there's a lot of power in being able to shape how someone else behaves. In this instance, the boys and the men in your society. There's a lot of power in being able to do that, and that's essentially what that is. You're looking to shape their behavior for a desired outcome. Okay, and when those words, as a man, when those words are uttered, there's usually a hint of shame in those words. Okay, a hint of judgment in those words. You're not a real man if you don't do X, Y, and Z.
But we're going to get a little bit more into it because I want to show you that this is a real thing that is occurring right now.
These women, they want a real man, but eyelashes fake, ass fake, lips fake, hair fake, face fake. 80% of their beauty can be wiped off by makeup wipes.
Hit that subscribe button, my friends. And of course, give me that thumbs up button. That like button is my friend. Actually, it's mine and yours, our friend. That like button. Thumbs up, please, as you listen to more and more of this content, because it's going to be a good one. But let's hear what a real man is by some of these women's standards.
Someone asked me what I was looking for in a boyfriend, and I didn't know how to say. I'm looking for someone who has such an interest in me and everything that makes me me that they want to physically crawl up inside me. Not literally like that, but I guess also like that. And learn every groove and crevice of my brain and what makes me who I am, and have just such a yearning to know me. So instead I said funny.
Yeah, she's pretending like that's funny, but the psychological messages are there. Understand, gentlemen, when you're being manipulated, because women have a treasure trove of different ways to make you feel less than and make you feel guilty for not being the man that she wants you to be.
This video was created by AI. No cameras or complicated software required.
So for the men watching this, I mean, did you see any of this in your family growing up? Did you see your mother do it, your aunts, your grandmother? I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, but have you seen this? Have you seen this happening in your family? Okay, that's a rhetorical question. You can answer that if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. Fair use, fair use.
This comment right here.
And what about that comment?
I really don't think that he's speaking for all men.
Of course, there are always exceptions, but they are most certainly speaking for the vast majority of men.
Because I know that there will be somebody that steps up one day to be some sort of father figure for my child.
It's very possible. However, do bear in mind that women with children are not at the top of a man's dating priority list. They are, in fact, near the bottom.
It's also I'm very surprised that you felt comfortable actually typing this out and commenting on someone's video.
I'm actually surprised that one didn't already realize that most men actually felt that way.
Like, it's just the wildest thing.
No, it's not. It's actually almost common sense.
And that's what I'm trying to bring to you.
I'm going to say it, and you're not going to like what I have to say.
Okay, so that's a major flashpoint today. Men being willing or unwilling to take care of another man's children. That's a major flashpoint today, and a major clash of the times. Fair use, fair use. This says, where the real men at?
You're not going to like it, man. You're not going to like it. Where are the real men at? I'm sick of it. They don't make men like they used to. I'm going to say it loud and proud, because tell me why men these days, they don't want to do an oil change. They don't know how to change a tire. They don't know how to do anything. If Google doesn't know, babe, they don't know. Tell me why my dad knows every single thing to do with his hands. I could ask my dad to literally build a bridge for me to get to the other side of the road. That man will do it within 1 hour. You ask a man this day and age, hey, can you tell me how to check my tire pressure? Yeah, let me Google that. What do you mean you have to Google it? What do you mean you have to Google it, man? What do you mean? You are a man. This is what you're built for, babe. This is what you're built for, and you don't even know how to check my tire pressure. Please.
Okay, so two things there. So Richard, I was going to say Richard Reeves, Scott Galloway was concerned about the boys and the men. Clearly, some of the younger ladies there are not doing well. But this stood out to me because changing a tire, plumbing, all those things. She mentioned her dad. What if you're, a man and a young man, and there was nobody there to teach you those things when you were growing up? Okay. What if you grew up in an era where they gutted shop class and any type of vocational training, and you just didn't get that? And there were no men. What if you didn't have a father? What if your uncles weren't around? What if uh, your mother didn't choose a husband? Okay, these are the fruits of that. If nobody teaches you, then you're not going to know unless you Google it or go take the classes yourself. Okay. Fair use, fair use.
I'm sick of having men that don't know how to literally use their hands. I'm sick of it. Be a man!
There's another one. If you are not capable of taking care of every single one of my needs, and if you're not like my dad, who probably had a father in the household, and most men these days never had a father in the household that could actually teach them how to do these things from a young age. That's number one. Number two, most places these days have service centers. There's AAA. There's so many other services where men don't have to actually do these things on his own. So not having a man in the household, problem created by you women. And number two, the ease of everything, getting services these days have really made a lot of men lazy. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in. So a lot of men just really don't put any effort into learning these things. Back in the day, man, you had to learn these basic rules of maintaining everything. That's just it. But the point is, she's looking for that real man like her dad. But here's the thing. For all of those women who complain about men who are like their dad, ask ourselves one simple question. If you want someone like your dad, and these men who are not like your dad are not real men, then I need to ask you, are you like my mom? Do you have the characteristics of my mom? Where I can expect a nice submissive woman that would bring me a plate every single day, make sure hot food's on the stove, house is clean. Tell me that. Because if that's not the case, STFU. Yes. Those of you don't know what that means, Google it.
There's another question for Professor Galloway. Okay. Are the girls, are you like my mom? Okay. That's a controversial question, but it's an important question. If you're going to fix up one side, are you going to fix up the other side? All right. Fair use, fair use.
You say you want a strong masculine man, but do you actually know what that kind of man needs? Because love isn't what's earned his loyalty. Respect is. Respect to a man is not just words. It's your tone, your energy, the way you speak to him in front of people and behind closed doors. You can say, I love you 1,000,000 times, but if every time he talks to you, you roll your eyes, you correct him, you talk over him, or make him feel this big, you've already disrespected him. Men do not stay where they do not feel respected. They might tolerate it for a little while, but they'll detach quietly. And once they check out emotionally, you can't fix that with affection or manipulation. He's already done. Respect looks like trusting his lead, not competing with it. It's listening when he speaks, even if you disagree. It's letting him be a man without trying to control how he moves. You don't have to bow down or lose your voice. That's not what I'm saying. But a feminine woman knows how to use her softness as strength. She knows how to speak life into her man, not ego. Because when a man feels respected, he thrives. He becomes more generous, protective, loving, and grounded. So before you complain, that your man isn't leading? Ask yourself this, ladies. Have you given him something worth leading? Really ask yourself that.
There we go. See, this is a woman who understands how men think. That's a real man. And I hate that term, by the way.
A real man does not need fixing. He needs a woman who makes his nervous system relax. Let that sink in, because the right woman doesn't demand that you change. She reminds you who you are when you finally feel safe. When a man feels truly loved by a woman that he trusts, something powerful happens. His brain releases oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. It lowers your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, slows his heart rate, and tells his body that you are safe now. That's why one gentle touch, one hug, or even her presence after a long day can feel like medicine, because it is. Her softness literally helps his body heal. Men carry the world on their shoulders, protecting, providing, enduring in the silence. They build walls so thick that even love has to knock pretty damn hard to get in. And the truth is, you could only hold on to that hard exterior for so long. At some point, even the strongest man needs a place to be able to breathe. That's why the right woman gives you peace, not chaos, not control, but peace. Once you feel that peace, you're never going to want to let it go.
You do not need to be liked by everyone.
Okay, so what we don't know, okay, this is all content. So what we don't know is if the lady saying this actually mean this, but I think this shows a clash of ideas. Okay, fair use. This is under. We have less than 10 minutes now. I need to wrap this up.
Ladies, this is what you need to learn. I'm always trying to correct the behavior of a woman who's constantly complaining she cannot get a man. You ladies have to start listening to what men want. We do not have to listen to what you want. We react to what you respond to, because we know what comes out of your mouth isn't necessarily what you want. We didn't make those rules. You did. You created that environment for men. Listen to that again. We do not listen to what you want. We respond to your behavior, because what comes out of your mouth isn't necessarily what you want. You hungry? No. Well, I'm getting something to eat. Okay. Food comes. Why didn't you get me something? Sounds familiar? And I can go through another 100 examples. What's wrong? Nothing. Okay. Man goes off, does his thing. I can't believe you didn't. You should have seen that I was depressed. You should have seen that I had something on my mind and stayed with me. You said there was nothing wrong. I could keep going, but this video would be way too long.
A real man is dead ass one of the most.
Being called a.
How many of you guys have experienced that? That's a little joke there. All right, fair use. This is almost finished.
Real man is dead ass one of the most insulting things a woman could ever say to you. If you're being called a real man, there's like a 95% chance you're doing some sucker shit. You see, I noticed shorties only call a dude a real man if he's pandering, simping, or just doing something that greatly benefits her, usually at his own expense. When a man has standards, he's controlling. When a man doesn't want her acting ratchet, he's insecure. When a man is prioritizing his own well-being, he's narcissistic or egotistical. But when he's paying all her bills, he's a real man. When he's taking care of the 6 kids that she has with 7 different niggas, he's a real man. Y'all see how that works? As a fella, when you hear those words, real man, that is a time for you to stop, check, and really self-reflect on what you've been doing. You got to ask yourself, like, yo, am I being a sucker right now?
Young men are waking the hell up. They're waking up and realizing the manipulation is real. I'm really glad to see that the men are making these videos. I'm going to share it. All of you men in the manosphere, you share these videos, because all the young boys have to wake up and realize he's a real man when he stands his ground, when he has standards, when he does what's right without being taken advantage of.
Unpopular opinion, but fella.
So again, you can see, guys, we're witnessing a battle for the masculine sphere here. Okay, and I think this pushback is good. We have an interesting dialogue here in the chat about manufacturing. Reynolds says they shipped manufacturing jobs overseas. Blowback is a biatch. People don't think about that. That came up during some of the past elections. Manufacturing, blue collar jobs. Those actually did a lot of good for society. Okay. Ray Alexander says, Reynolds, not only did they ship manufacturing jobs overseas, they also imported surplus men from Latin America to take over the trades, break unions, and lower the average income of the trades. And Reynolds says, facts, they've been doing everything to undermine BW since 1619. Reynolds, what are you referring to by BW there in that instance? Fair use.
Y'all don't feel like the term a real man is an insult now? I know it can't be only me, bro, but every time I hear a woman say a real man would, the shit that come after that is so asinine that it make it feel like it's a direct fucking attack to my masculinity.
No, he's right. Because the moment you say a real man, it's followed by the most obtuse rubber goose bullshit that a woman can put you through. A real man gonna pay for the date and put a deposit $200 down. A real man gonna pay for the fucking nails. I'm not trying to come off as like a red pill motherfucker, but at some point you gotta like wake up and realize like that shit is kind of crazy. I'm supposed to step up for somebody else's kids? No.
Okay, there it is again. There's that flashpoint. I'm not, I shouldn't be held responsible for paying for someone else's kids. This is the content. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving commentary on this societal cultural flashpoint. So you're seeing some pushback on this particular part of controlling masculinity, and I'm not condoning the use of these 4 and 5 letter words. I normally don't use these words on my platform, but this is TikTok that he's featuring there. Fair use, fair use.
Yo, he's right. Yeah, no, when I hear somebody being called a real man, I just know some goofy ass niggas getting taken advantage of.
Exactly. And does it work? Let's look at this gentleman here who has gone through 2 street interviews, and you tell me, what did he do wrong in his marriage?
Hey, y'all, come look at this. What's your age? 33. And are you single? Nah, married. How long have you been married? Since 2017. So being married 8 years, how do you keep a relationship together that long? Pay 100% of everything. So it's a man's job to be a provider. 100%. You ain't a man if you're not a provider. What gave you that mentality? Man, I've been had it since I was young. I mean, shoot, if you look at the granddaddies and everything, they was taking care of the bills, and guess what? They was with grandma for the longest. These dudes be in relationships in and out because they not paying 100% of everything. That's the reason why they in washing machine ass relationships.
2 hours later.
Have you ever proposed to a woman before?
Yes, I did.
And how did that turn out for you?
Newly divorced.
But how long was your marriage?
8 years.
What do you think caused your 8-year marriage to deteriorate?
You know, it's one of those crazy things, man. People can wake up and say, I don't want to do this. No matter what's built, no matter what legacies are in place, you know, it's one of those situations where you can't control people, right? I can't control you. I can't make you do something you don't want to do. So, you know what I mean?
But did you provide in your relationship?
First month, quit your job. I'm here, I'm taking care of this. So I ain't had to see a bill in 8 years, you know?
The amount of men that are broke don't want to be providers or spend.
Okay, so we are just about at the end here, but as I was driving, watching that yesterday, well, driving and listening, that was the same guy. So, you know, in the first video, he was really, really gung-ho about paying all the bills. You know, a real man provides, he pays for everything. And assuming that wasn't a skit, when he showed up again, he was divorced. So the take-home message is that ultimately wasn't good enough for whomever it was he was married to. Fair use. Let's wrap this video up.
Their money to take a woman out to nice places. What do you want then? Do you even like women?
I'm really beginning to believe that the majority of women that make content such as this don't even like men. They just see them as objects that they can use for what they can get out of them, because that seems to be the only real reason that this type of content is being put up.
Maybe you should be dating men.
Really? If a person just wants to get on the internet to disparage men, just say so. It's a lot easier.
These types of guys are wondering what they're getting in return when they're getting her presents.
Well, whoop-de-doo. It seems like the value of the presence of some of these women that put out this type of content is definitely overvalued.
Men can afford their own dinner. They don't need to be there.
By their own logic, then, those women should be probably dating other women.
You don't understand. There can only be one princess.
By virtue of the fact that a person happens to be a woman does not automatically make them a princess. Princesses, for example, are usually traditionally courteous, cultured, magnanimous, a pleasure to be around, where a lot of these women definitely lack the necessary credentials to fall into that category.
Oh, Lady J always brings it home. Always. It's just that so much of this content is out there, constantly putting men down, telling men that they're not men simply because they don't want to pay for a woman's lifestyle.
So right there, there's so much of this content out there. Professor Galloway focused on the internet and men. There's a lot of content like this going out there from women. So he doesn't seem to care about that. Fair use, fair use.
It's insane. And believe it or not, it does wear men down. And you get men who go one or two ways. Either their brains have been so saturated with these messages that literally they feel that if I don't do what the woman wants, especially if the women are beautiful that are saying this, I'm not going to get a woman, so I better do what they are asking me to do. Or on the other hand, they really start to despise women to the point where they find dating just revolting and they stay off the market. But what I'm hoping to do is to create more men like the guys that are making these videos who look at these women and look at these videos and say, you're out of your damn mind. That shit ain't happening. You either come on my program or there's nothing going to happen with you and I'll just find the next one. It's as simple as that.
Women love to tell men how to be men, right? And say, well, real man would do this and a real man would do that, but you've never been a man. So how could you tell me what to do?
Yeah, how the fuck you know this? How?
Like me trying to tell somebody how to be a parent when I've never done that. You know, it's like you've never stepped a foot in these shoes. You could say what you would like from a man. You could say like what your requirements are to be your man, but you can't tell me what a real man would do. Yes, you may have men around you that have had an influence in your life, but in terms of like telling a man how to be a man, you can't do that.
Yeah, for some reason, women think that.
Yeah, I mean, can we as men tell women about periods and menstrual cycles and those things? But you know, growing up, I've seen that. I'm sure you guys have seen that as well. But that's a real thing that has happened and that continues to happen today. Okay. Fair use, fair use.
They know what men should be, that we should listen to that. No, we don't listen to a woman in that respect. Once again, we respond to what she does.
7 rules for a real man. Rule number 1, never beg a woman to love you. A man who begs loses respect. 2, never tolerate disrespect from a woman. Respect is always mutual. 3, never beg a woman to stay. Let her walk away. Number 4, never take a woman who left you for another man. She's fucking dead. 5, never fight with another man over a woman. Let him have it. Because real men walk away for something better. 6, never let a woman keep a male best friend. Number 7, never show weakness to a woman. A leader stays strong and steady. That's fucking good.
Straight to the freaking point. Straight to the point. I'm going to leave it there, my friends. Nice, short, and sweet today. You live by those rules and you will be successful in your life and you will be successful with women. Because that's what women want. Don't listen to what they say. They will listen to this man and they will not be able to object because most of that has to do with respect. She can't object to that. But But on the other hand, she will try to disrespect you. So my friends, share this video with all the men that you know that really need to understand that this is how they have to live their life. Do not fall for the BS that's constantly being pumped at you, because we live in a society that really tries to denigrate men and keep men down. That's not who we are as men. Men are builders and leaders. We lead. That means we don't get someone else to tell us what to do. And I'm talking about a woman, because in reality, my friend, she's looking for a leader. If you fail her tests of constantly pushing at you, then that relationship will come to an end. And never, for Christ's sake, do not tolerate disrespect. Hit that like button, my friends. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you tomorrow in the next video. So until then, remember, whenever in doubt, always ask an older man. See you soon.
All right, everybody, that's Ask an Older Man. Again, I don't condone all the 4 and 5 letter words. Imagine my mother watching this and maybe turning it off because of the 4 and 5 letter words. But the messaging, got to chew the meat and spit out the bone. Now there's a counter current against reshaping and defining, controlling, that's the best word, what a man is today. So it's happening on 2 sides. You want to control men, bring them back to being producers and being pillars of society, repairing it, building it, taking care of boys, whether or not they sired those boys and those girls. And then you have this other side saying, don't tell me what to do, which oftentimes is a strategic tool between the genders. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. That's all I have. I just wanted to. This is just my version of punching the clock. Do you guys have any thoughts on any of that before I wrap this up? Ray Alexander says, auto mechanics. Okay. Reynolds says, okay, so he was talking about this country has done everything to undermine Black men. And Ray Alexander says, auto mechanics and residential handyman training should be available to all high school young men. Young men should learn the trades in high school. We should institute career and technical education. Ray Alexander, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Even if you go on to become white collar, even if you go on to become a white collar professional, as a man, you should understand how to turn a wrench and do some basic things, change a tire, change oil, do some basic level plumbing. Okay, because you're gonna have to call somebody to do it anyway if you become a doctor or a lawyer. But there seems to be a lot of those things within relationships, they're still expected. Okay, I think that's the bottom line. Those things are still expected. So you want to be able to do the minimum things and then outsource the bigger things that you can't do. All right, everybody. This was just punching the clock, my version of it. This Sunday, I have Dr. L coming, and we're going to do a fun Q&A. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about some of these things without the 4 and the 5 letter words. If you're watching this on the replay, gang, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you joined my channel from my Dr. Neil, my interview with Dr. Neil, and my interview with Jeff St. James, sometimes I do this when I don't have interviews lined up. And this is just commentary on what's happening in our world and in our society and in our culture right now. There are a lot of clashes going on, and it's not quite clear where all of this is going to end up. Will we have a society and a species and a country 10 to 15 years from now? Okay. Everybody, Scott Galloway has his book. I have my book. Consider this for yourself, or during the holiday season, a gift for someone else, a young man in particular. Though this is good for people who just like stories, people who like stories. The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story Part 1, Innocent Basketball Dreams. Thank you to those of you who purchased copies already. For my YouTube subs, I am selling signed hardcover editions for $27, and for the paperback, I'm selling signed copies for $22. Those are discounted from the Amazon prices, where the hardcover is $35 and the paperback is $27. You can use one of those methods there in the description box, or you can go to my online store. I'm going to show this really, really quickly because I am out of space on StreamYard. Well, StreamYard does still give you, they will still give you, let's see, time in your studio if you don't go over too much. This is my online store. This is the Big Words Author Store. If you want to use plastic, those are the Amazon prices, but I can create coupon codes for those of you who would like a discount. Everybody these days would like a discount. So just reach out to me. But if you use any of those methods in the ticker, make sure you send me your mailing address so I know where to send it to. The link to my writer's blog and my online store is here. Reynolds, thank you for that. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully I'll see all of you and more on Sunday at 3:30. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. And to Professor Scott Galloway, I'm going to end with this question. Dr. Galloway, what about the girls and the women? What about the girls and the women? If you fix the boys, what about the feminine sphere? Are they okay? All right. Have a good night, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.